The change for me coming from high school to college is the amount of responsibility and accountability that you now have to manage. It's a really big change to go from, having teachers in high school, kind of micromanage everything you do, and having, all your friends and family that you've known for decades there. You kind of have to learn how to adapt to doing this kind of stuff on your own and really being kind of your own self-starter in that, which once you learn how to do that is just enormously helpful.
When I started out my freshman year, I was very timid just because my high school years weren't the best. I wasn't that involved, or I wasn't that known around where I was from. But it wasn't until I started in my orientation group. My orientation leader, she was very involved, and she was able to help me, kind of guide me throughout my first year. Also, I was part of the first year experience class, and there I was able to meet my student instructor, who was able to guide me through different student organizations.
You are on your own, and everybody's excited about that, but nobody realizes all the responsibilities that come with that. So I had to learn how to do laundry by myself, which was a big thing for me, and my mom used to nag me about doing my homework all the time, and I then didn't have anyone nagging me, so I had to figure out when to do homework and when I could actually relax and watch Netflix. So that's a big thing, to learn how to separate your time and time management.
My transition from high school to college, I'd say, was pretty smooth. I was really dedicated in high school and self-motivated, so I'd say that was something that really benefited me moving into college, is definitely making sure that I was on top of what I needed to do for myself. If you ever relied on someone in high school to kind of tell you what you needed to have done at a certain time, like a teacher or a parent, it's definitely not necessarily a system that's always available here in college. So you definitely need to be able to kind of be independent in that sense and really get work on your own to get your homework done, and making sure you're on top of what needs to happen and contacting your instructors if you have questions.
Work closely with your professors as well as your academic advisors. You have 2 advisors that you want to work very closely with, so that you can make sure, guarantee that you graduate in that 4 or 5 year span.
Expand your network as soon as you can. Take that leap of faith. When you are committing to a college, you're committing to be with a group of people that are all from different backgrounds, such as yourself. And what's so awesome about this is you have the choice to do something different every single day. And, instead of me just sitting here on camera telling you what you need to do, you need to say, yeah, I'm going to take hold of my life here, especially at Western, and I'm going to get the ultimate Bronco experience.
My most memorable experience in Argentina has definitely got to be La Semana Santa, or the spring break, when we got the chance to go to Mendoza, Argentina. We got to go paragliding, water rafting, horseback riding in the Andes Mountains with a gaucho. So that was wonderful. Had several asados, which is like their version of a barbecue. So that was definitely a memorable experience, to say the least, to have all those wonderful events each and every day for a week to be able to go to. And those are things I've never been able to do even in the States. So yeah, I loved it, really loved it. I stayed with the host family, and my house mom really helped me to prepare for things such as taking public transportation, because I had no idea where I was going. So she taught me what to expect if I took the subway, how to hail a taxi, the bus, things of that nature. She taught me how to take what buses to take, as well as my roommate. He really helped me out with that as well, showed me where to go and how to get around. As far as the culture, they told me was acceptable as far as when you greet over there, it's normal to give a kiss on the cheek. So even if it's your professor, some of that's actually normal over there as a greeting, or as you're departing to give someone a kiss, say gracias, buen dia. My favorite part of the program has got to be the different excursions that we would engage in. As part of the program, we were able to go to Tigre. We were able to go to Uruguay, and we also had different culture nights where we went to a play. I can't remember the name of the play at the moment, but we also went to a culture night at one of the houses. It was called La Residencia, and we learned how to drink wine, how you could mix certain flavors like juices with the wines and things like that. And we also learned about not just the wine itself, but what it means to the culture of Argentina. Having been to Argentina really awakened in me a desire to want to see the world. So it kind of motivated me to want to get it more into international business, international studies, so any type of career path that allows me to really go explore other countries, the cultures there, and really work with the different businesses over there. I see a lot of resources that we have here in the United States that they didn't even know about or don't have access to because it's way too expensive for them. So that really kind of awakened that desire in me to really want to see what else is out there. Me recomiendo que alguna persona que tiene un interés en otras culturas, explorar los costumbres, la comida, la gente. Argentina es una buena oportunidad para explorar estos intereses porque es muy rico en cultura, muy rica en cultura, porque la gente allá son muy interesantes, muy amables y es una buena experiencia en general. Sí. I can definitely say it enhanced my experience, my educational experience by 1,000. I would definitely have to say, being in another country so far away from home, you definitely learn to be a lot more self-sufficient, a lot more independent when you don't have the certain resources that are usually always at your disposal here on the campus of Western Michigan University. You learn that you have to kind of make another way to gain access to other resources to help you out. So being so far away from home in a culture with people, everything that's so different, it really helped me to focus on my education, make sure that kind of reanalyze a lot of my priorities and put a lot of things into different perspectives, and also placed a bigger value on education for me because I saw there's so many other things that I had never even considered, such as international business. I had never really spent that much time in another country to really engage with the people and see their perspective on a lot of things within their culture and can be able to compare it to my own. So that in itself I was able to bring back and really keep with me as I continue my studies here at Western Michigan University.
Major Monday, yay! At Western Michigan University.
Hi, my name's Connor. I'm a junior here at Western Michigan University. I'm double majoring in Spanish and International Global Studies, kind of concentrating in political science, and double minoring in Communication Studies and Race and Ethnic Relations. I am from Lowell, Michigan, which is the Grand Rapids area, if you know where that is. And today we are in the Bernhard Center, which is our student center, student union building here on campus. So in high school, I was that guy that applied to almost every school I could possibly think of. And it kind of came down for me to, a Big Ten university, kind of a middle-sized university like Western, and a small private college. What I really liked is, in terms of size, Western has about 24 to 25,000 students, but geographically our campus is pretty, I could say small or condensed in a way, because to walk from one end of campus to the other, it's no more than, 20, 25 minutes. So I just really like the fact that it is a big university. You definitely get that feel. But then when you're walking to and from classes, you're able to see, people and familiar faces, and it just makes that 24, 25,000 feel that much smaller. And coming into Western, I was majoring, I intended to major in Spanish, which I still am, obviously. But in addition to that, I kind of was able to expand my horizons a little bit and kind of add on my additional major of International and Global Studies with that, political science concentration, as well as my two minors in Communication Studies and Race and Ethnic Relations. end goal, I would love to do, some sort of ambassadorial or liaison work, but that's kind of further down the road. But just to get me there, that's where I'm starting. So here at Western, I've had a lot of really great opportunities to get involved in, but in terms of my academic involvement and different opportunities I've been awarded there, I actually have had the opportunity to serve as an undergraduate teaching assistant here on campus in the International and Global Studies Department. So that was a really great opportunity for that major of mine. And then I also was actually just recently accepted to study abroad this upcoming summer in Santander, Spain for my Spanish major. And all of it's just been really great because all of it counts towards, in terms of credit-wise, towards graduation, but then also giving me that real-world experience of what I can take from what I've learned here at Western in the classroom and apply that to what I want to do post-graduation. So in addition to all of the amazing different academic-related opportunities that I've had and been afforded here at Western, I've also had the opportunity to get pretty involved in terms of student life and on campus. So with that said, we do have over 300 different student organizations that you can be involved with, whether it be something more related to your major or something you want to just do for fun. I currently serve, though, as the Vice President for the Western Student Association, which is the student body government organization here on campus. So that's something I'm pretty passionate about. I've also had the opportunity to be involved as an orientation student leader here on campus and kind of work with first-year students and helping them to transition to university life, which has been a really rewarding experience. And then from there, I've kind of even springboarded a little bit more to get involved. I'm actually a member of the Greek community here at Western and currently serve as on an executive council that kind of governs over a portion of Greek and fraternity life here on campus. So just to wrap it all up, I would definitely have to say that my time and experience here at Western has been nothing but amazing, and I wish that for everyone who watches this video, just because I've gotten so much out of it, and I know that what I'm learning and what I'm doing inside and outside of the classroom, I'm going to be able to apply and take that into what I want to do professionally once I graduate. So that aspect of it has been amazing. And then in terms of my on-campus involvement, that's been really great too, like I previously mentioned, just because it allows you to be so much more than just yourself, and it really allows you to connect to other people who have those same similarities and passions, and really allows you to be successful and find your friends and make the most out of your university experience. So go Broncos!
Well, the Department of Comparative Religion at Western has a fairly long history. It's one of the older departments in the country. We were founded in the late 50s, and we celebrated our 50th anniversary just a couple of years ago. So it has this wonderful long history at Western Michigan University. It's always been a small department, probably always will be a small department. So for undergraduates, what's great about that is you actually get to interact with your professors. We're available in office hours. We teach a number of undergraduate classes. The vast majority of classes an undergraduate will take in comparative religion will be offered by a professor. And that's probably different from some of the other departments, the larger programs around the university.
Major Monday, yay! At Western Michigan University.
Hola, mi nombre es Alice y soy una estudiante a la Universidad de Western Michigan. Mis concentraciones aquí son español y educación secundaria y soy de Hastings, Michigan.
Hola, me llamo Lauren y soy de Manistee, Michigan. Este año es mi último año aquí at Western y estudio psicología y español. I chose Western Michigan University because I love the programs in psychology and Spanish here. Also after my tour I just felt really comfortable and it felt like a second home.
Yo elegí WMU porque me gusta mi programa de educación secundaria y las oportunidades entre mi programa y en Western en general. Mi parte favorita del departamento del español es las oportunidades afuera de la clase. Por ejemplo, este verano yo estudiaba en España por 11 semanas. When I studied abroad this past summer, my favorite part was the people. I love meeting new people, and I love our professors too. I had a great time getting to know everyone on my trip, and I also loved the food.
I also studied abroad with Alice in Santander, Spain. My favorite part was my family. They really made it a great experience for me. They cooked me authentic Spanish food every day. They really made me a part of their family, and that made me feel comfortable and at home.
Lauren, do you remember when we went to Sevilla for a whole weekend in Spain?
Yeah, it was so much fun, but it was really hot, and we had a really great time.
It was almost 107 degrees Fahrenheit, but we loved it.
It was amazing. It was a really cool place to be, and really diverse from where we were in northern Spain.
So not only did we spend time with our host families in Santander, we got to travel all over Spain and see different parts of the country and culture.
Western is a great place to study languages because there's so much diversity here on campus. All of our Spanish professors are authentic from different countries like Argentina, Mexico, and even Spain. And it's a great opportunity to practice with them and learn different dialects as well as the language itself. Me encanta mi universidad. Vamos Francos.
When I was applying to graduate programs, one of the things that I was looking for was a broad group of faculty members in the field. And Western had a very strong group of faculty members in medieval history, and that was very appealing to me as an incoming graduate student, as an incoming master's student. My research interests for my doctoral studies is medieval Italy, but specifically medieval Sicily in the 14th century. So this period of change that's occurring in the Mediterranean, a shift from German domination of the island to a Iberian domination of the island. But beyond these politics, I'm most interested in everyday life, getting at the lives and experiences of common everyday people, urban dwellers of the city of Palermo, through notarial archival documents that are mostly commercial contracts, but allow us insight into the everyday experiences of this hard-to-explore group of people. As a student considering Western Michigan for their graduate program, there are lots of opportunities that the university offers. Within the history department for the medievalist, there are a broad range of geographic areas, periods, and subjects among the faculty for one to focus on and study. Beyond the faculty, we have related departments such as medieval studies, English, foreign languages, where there are opportunities to study with different faculty members in different fields for an outside field, and to bring these people into your own research as well.
I'm Rasha. I'm from Morocco, and I'm a graduate student in the Geosciences department at Western. Being an international student, at first I thought it's going to be harder, but I'm enjoying this experience because actually Western has a lot of diversity, and I'm meeting not only the American culture, but all the other cultures, and being together and studying different Earth systems across the world make the experience even more beneficial. I came to Western specifically to this department as a visitor scientist, and I like the interdisciplinary cross-field learning environment that this department of Westerns provides. Yeah. I feel this experience at Western is very positive. Like the geosciences itself, and this department in particular, makes you study the Earth systems in a local scale and a regional scale across the world by doing chemistry in the same time, physics, mineralogy, climatology, and all those fields combined together. And it's very cool.
My name is Katya Levintova, and I'm Assistant Professor of Political Science at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. In many ways, kind of a dream job. Again, got my PhD from Western in 2004, which I'm very proud alumni of this institution. And again, tell my students how wonderful that was for me. Enjoyed my stay here, learned a lot, and really loved the department and the school. What I remember the most, I think, the challenges and kind of the difficult times going through the program, but also the camaraderie that we all had between the graduate students, but also the relationship with the faculty members, who were extremely supportive and just absolutely, I think, the best professors that I could have had in my graduate training. Jim Barfield, who is specialist on post-communist countries, and I actually came here because he was on faculty, and we communicated a little bit before I came, before I made the decision to go to Western, and he was always extremely supportive and just gave me so many opportunities, and not just me, but many other students. So we were able to assistant teaching, eventually had our own classes, had lots of co-authored presentations or papers that I was working with him on, so that was really so valuable. Currently I teach at University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. I teach classes in comparative politics, international relations, global politics, political behavior, which deals with public opinion and voting trends in the United States, and I also teach U.S. foreign and defense policy, which is very exciting. I'm also involved with the Global Studies program. I'm very committed to international education because I'm a product of that myself. Really enjoy what I do. Find teaching and research extremely exhilarating, and definitely confirms my decision to go get my PhD just about every single day. I do think that beyond just the academic training that Western gave me, it also gave me a very good example of the faculty-student relationships, which should be very collaborative and nurturing. And a lot of the approaches to teaching that I myself take are very much inspired by people whom I observed and admired being a teaching assistant. I think the influence of Western on me is just beyond immense. I think it shaped me academically, but also as a teacher, as a person.
Major Monday, yay! At Western Michigan University.
Hi, my name is Kelsey. I am a senior here at Western Michigan University, and I am from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I chose Western because, well, actually at first I didn't choose Western. I'm actually a transfer student, so my first year I started at a different university. It just wasn't the right fit for me. I realized how important my college life was. It didn't offer the same majors that Western offered. So I actually came back here, and the rest is kind of history. I'm a Kalamazoo girl through and through, so it's been really nice to kind of get back to my roots. I picked interpersonal communication as my major, simply on the basis of it was something that I found really enjoyable. I love talking to people. I'm very passionate about it. I'm also passionate about different organizations and groups, not only on campus, but out in the real world as well. This major kind of let me do everything that I love, everything that I'm passionate about, meet new people, go new places, and actually that brings me to my next point. I have had so many doors open to me through not only Western, but my major as well in interpersonal communication. I was actually able to do advising for the College of Arts and Sciences through my major. So with that, I was an undergraduate advisor. I saw a bunch of different freshmen coming through who are sharing the same passions and interests that I do as well. And I could get them hooked up with their schedule and with teachers that I knew that they would really excel with. So that was something that was really interesting. Another opportunity that I was given through the interpersonal communication major as well as through Western Michigan University was the opportunity to study abroad in London, England. While we were over there, I got to work with the BBC as well as Isobar Ad Agency and the Press Complaints Commission. This was just a phenomenal experience as a communication major to really get that hands-on experience that is so essential for after graduation. This is just one of the many services and one of the many activities that you can partake in through Western Michigan University. I love this campus, I love this school, and I'm so glad to be a Bronco today and always. Kelsey's out.
My name is Caitlin Perry Dial. I'm a third-year PhD student in public history at Western Michigan. My dissertation focuses on the history and memory of Great Lakes shipwrecks. Well, I hope to find that these historic associations and these groups and museums, that their efforts in their vernacular memory or their very closed, very personal memories become a part of the public narrative. What drew me to the public history program here at Western Michigan University was the Upton Fellowship and the opportunity to gain a practical experience while also learning the academic theory necessary to learn public history. As the Frederick S. Upton Fellow, I work as a curatorial assistant at the St. Joseph Heritage Museum and Cultural Center. And I wear many different hats. I am a curator, I am an archivist, I am an educator, I do many things. I'm a volunteer coordinator. I work in collections management, exhibit curation, school programming, public programming, you name it, I do it. Currently at our museum we have the exhibit Ice Age Imperials, where we're going full ahead on school field trips and other events with the community to draw people into the exhibits. I work a lot with bringing children into the exhibit and making sure that they have a good time, because I really feel that when I enter the museum as the fellow and as a museum professional, that children that have a good time and have a good experience in a museum are more likely to become museum patrons when they're adults. I love seeing people that are excited about history, be it the ancient Ice Age or up to the Civil War. I love it when people come into the museum and are excited to talk to me about things they know, things they don't know, things they're looking to find. It's always a fun thing to do, to talk to someone who's interested in history. Here at Western, in the history department, there's a lot of camaraderie, and even in just the hallway you can stop and talk to a person for a half hour, an hour, and get away from your work, and it's great. What drew me to Western Michigan University's graduate program was the public history program. The opportunity to work in the public while learning academic theory really is what brought me here to Western.
Every year, thousands of middle school, high school, and college students across the country and around the world participate in Model United Nations. At these gatherings, students engage in an authentic simulation of the United Nations system. In spring 2016, Western Michigan University hosted its own Model United Nations High School Conference, where interested students assembled to participate, some for the very first time.
Model UN is very important for all high school students, and it's a great way to not only learn about the world and how people interact, but also gaining public speaking skills that are really vital when you get into college and beyond.
Since we have such a globalized world and society right now, I think it's very important that each and every one of us really knows what's going on across the globe, and participating in Model UN is such a great way at finding out those different perspectives and really achieving an understanding about what's happening, as well as just generally becoming a globalized citizen.
I really think Model UN appeals to all kinds of students, even the ones who like to stay in the background. I was definitely more of a background person and thought I might prefer to work on resolutions and whatnot, but you really find yourself, and even introverts can kind of come out of their shell through Model UN.
The real United Nations, located in New York City, is made up of 193 member states, from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. The UN promotes international cooperation. Its assemblies and councils discuss issues ranging from access to sustainable energy to drug trafficking and the financing of terrorism. In the Model UN simulations, students are given a topic and they role-play a country delegate to the United Nations. At Western's Model UN High School Conference, the delegates wrestled with these real-world issues and tried to find solutions to these global problems.
What's to say they won't invade Europe?
A committee of countries that own the islands should mutually decide what to do about militarization of the islands themselves.
There's a very diverse range of high schools being represented here. There's over 90 students here coming from 10 different schools across Michigan and Indiana.
So before the conference even begins, students get assigned a country and a committee. And within their assigned committee, they have to represent that country and what that country believes. And this is great because they get to really get a feel for how that country thinks and acts in the real world.
And also, Uganda would like to urge that the national emergency percentage be lowered to 20 or 25%.
This experiential learning program gives students an idea of the inner workings of the United Nations. Consider whether you'd like to join us and discover your hidden talents of diplomacy or gain valuable communication skills that will translate to other areas of interest.
So really any student that likes debating any issues and learning more about what's happening in the world would be greatly interested in the United Nations and Model UN and what we do, because you debate such interesting matters and you really get to express your viewpoints and listen to other people's viewpoints and debate and find the best resolution possible. So really just anybody who thinks that they have a strong opinion that they can debate with other individuals.
So one of the greatest things about the Model United Nations conferences is there's a diverse range of topics that can be debated. And one of the things that I would really like to see is to see how students are responding to the Zika virus going on in South America. Because it feels like we do a lot of debates on things going on in the Middle East and in Africa and Europe, and so it'd be very interesting to sort of cover that as well.
The Global and International Studies program at Western Michigan University and the Student Model UN Club plan to expand the conference next spring. If you want to get involved, talk to your high school social studies teacher and check out our website for more information.
My best advice for graduating students would be your world is about to change. We've been in the academic education world since we were 5, and suddenly you're going to go into the professional world, the working world, where people don't really care what classes you've taken. They don't want to know what you know, they want to know what you can do. What is really necessary is a self-awareness of the skills that you do have, that Western has taught you. You know how to write, you know how to relate to other people, you know how to learn, you know how to listen. And it's all about realizing what your professors have been teaching you the whole time. And it's not the tests, it's the rest of the education that being at Western gives you, that sense of community and connecting that is what is most important to hold close to you as you're moving forward into the professional world.
I recently, this past couple months, received word that I got a Fulbright English teaching assistantship offer in Germany. I'll be in Leipzig and for a year, and I'm really excited about it because it's an old historic German city with a lot of university culture, a lot of history there, and I'm really excited to be there for the year.
I wouldn't say I prepared deliberately because I didn't know about the program, but what actually ended up happening was I was a founding member of the German club. I did a lot of tutoring for that. I did a little bit of English tutoring while I was studying abroad. Naturally, study abroad was an important factor in that. Having gone to Germany says that you really care about the program that you're going to do. So even if it's a short program, I couldn't recommend enough studying abroad if you're interested in this style program. And generally just a lot of stay active and just do things in general, and eventually you'll be able to find something that you love that you can convey your conviction, convey your love for the program, love for teaching, that sort of thing. My advice to anybody interested in a Fulbright or really any kind of career in international anything would be just do stuff. Like, the simplest answer would be get active, join a club, start a club. We have a Model UN that's running now, which is awesome. I had a hand in starting that. But the shortest answer is don't be content with just your studies. Even do a sports club. Whatever you do, they want to see that you're an active member of the community, because while you're abroad, they expect you to be an active member of their community. So if you're used to that sort of thing, it'll make you a lot stronger candidate, but it'll also give you a lot more to talk about and really base your experience off and make that essay application a lot easier, if nothing else.
Major Monday, yay! At Western Michigan University.
Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm a second-year student here at Western. I'm currently majoring in mathematics, and I come from Greenville, Michigan. The reason I chose Western was really just because of the atmosphere here on Western's campus. I'd say there's a lot of friendly students here, and they're willing to help you out. Like when I came on my tour, I came during the spring, and the flowers were just blooming, and it was really beautiful here. And it was a really great place to see, and my tour guide was especially friendly. And I got to see all the resources available, and it really felt at home when I was here. And then when I actually came to Western, I knew I was right once I started getting involved with different student organizations, once I started meeting new people. It's funny because you just kind of start meeting people, and then you meet someone else, and then you realize they're friends with someone who's your friend, and you didn't realize it, and you just get these really cool connections going, and it's a really tight-knit community here at Western. The reason I chose mathematics is because throughout high school, it's really the passion that I had, out of all my courses, out of the electives I took, and out of my core classes I had to take. Math always clicked with my mind and just made sense, and I always did really well with all my math classes. So I thought, hey, if I have something good going now, I might as well keep it going throughout college. So I'm majoring in math, and I'm still on the same track, doing well in my classes. Yeah, just this semester I started researching in graph theory, which is an area of mathematics with one of the top researchers and professors within that field. And we've been working together, just getting started this semester, along with some of our graduate students, to, it's just figure out more about the subject and really just find more knowledge, which is a great opportunity for me as an undergraduate to participate in that research, to learn more about the subject I'm interested in, and possible ways I could be more involved in the future. So that's something I've really appreciated, going through the works of what it's like going into graduate school, getting that kind of advice from faculty members. That's something that's really invaluable that we have here at Western. So I'm part of Pi Mu Epsilon, which is the Math Honor Society, and then there's also Math Club. So it's kind of one and the same organization, but they're separate at the same time, so that people who aren't part of the Math Honor Society can still participate. So at Pi Mu Epsilon, we have cool meetings, we have talks and stuff like that. I'm actually the treasurer of the organization, so I've been a part of it for this is my third semester. right now, and we do some fun things, like we do math related talks, like things about like abstract algebra, but then we also have different kind of like movie nights and pizza parties, and it's a really good way to meet new people, network with faculty members, things along that line. We go out to dinner a lot. Oftentimes we go to Hunan Gardens and get some Chinese food, which is always good too. If you're interested in studying mathematics, I would definitely recommend Western because of the faculty members we have here at Western. Really, they really make the program great. There's a lot of great professors. They all have great senses of humor. A lot of great graduate students as well, teaching as TAs. They are really knowledgeable, and you can learn a lot from the professors and the graduate assistants. So if you're interested in mathematics or any other degree that's part of the College of Arts and Sciences or the math department, I highly recommend you check out Western. And remember, it's always a great day to be a Bronco.
So I came to Western Michigan University in 1992 as an assistant professor. So I've been here 23 years now. I did my doctoral degree at the University of Massachusetts, where I studied North American archaeology. And I've been a professor of anthropology for several years now here at WMU. Yeah, so I've had a long-standing interest in archaeology. Came about it in sort of an unusual way, I suppose. Just maybe happenstance. But one of the things that have interested me is interactions between different cultural groups. And so that's what I focus on now in my own studies. This period of the fur trade and colonialism, we're looking at the interactions between Europeans and Native Americans and the outcome of that. And it's the type of study that involves some documentary sources, but as an archaeologist, as a historical archaeologist, I'm really interested in the material aspects of their lives. So it provides very different insights than what historical documents can provide. Well, when I was at the University of Massachusetts pursuing my doctoral degree, I taught a number of courses as a graduate assistant. I had the chance to edit a book as a graduate student. I also worked doing what we call contract archaeology. So there was a place where a coal-fired cogeneration plant was going to be constructed, and it was going to disturb archaeological remains. And I was asked to do the archaeology before that destruction took place. It led me to investigations of the world's largest cutlery company. So the point is that I had a number of very varied experiences at the University of Massachusetts, and I was preparing myself in such a way that I could go into academia, I could teach at a small school, a large school, but I could also go into the private sector, doing private sector archaeology or even government work. So I just tried to build flexibility into my program, and no sooner did I defend my dissertation and the ink was just dry on the signatory page when I submitted it, that I saw the call here at WMU. I applied, I was interviewed, and I was offered the job 2 weeks later, and I've been here ever since. My dissertation actually focuses on the ancient mound builders of the Mississippi Valley. So my interests focused around using archaeological materials to understand the social life of people, the social and political organization of the people who constructed the mounds. So with that said, some of the theoretical interests that I had sort of transcended then any one particular time period or even a geographical space. So I started when I came to Western, I continued doing some of the work in Arkansas. But then I started getting calls from local people who had archaeological problems, I call them, right? They had issues that they wanted investigated. People in Battle Creek called us to investigate a site there. We were called by the state of Michigan to look at some Underground Railroad sites in Cass County. We were contacted by private landowners, and they wanted investigations done of things they encountered in their backyards, foundations and other features, something that turned out to be like an old cistern. And so we found that local people really wanted us to work with them, and the people in Niles also called me. And I didn't know anything about Niles, I didn't know anything about Fort St. Joseph, and they asked if we could help them find the Fort St. Joseph trading post, a site that had been occupied over 250 years ago, one of the most important French colonial sites in the Western Great Lakes. And we agreed to do it. Of course, they didn't tell us that people had been looking for it for 100 years. But anyway, we got involved in the project, and we did a little bit of testing, some shovel test pits that we dug. And as it turns out, a local person came to us and showed us a location that he had been working, and we did work there, and then were able to establish that this was probably the site of Fort St. Joseph. And it's where we've been working ever since 1998 now. The site of Fort St. Joseph was established right along the St. Joseph River in a very strategic location. It's not only on the river, and the rivers in the 17th and 18th century were the highways that were used to transport goods and people, but also it's near an important land route, essentially the old Sauk Trail, sort of from Detroit to Chicago, you could say, along what is today US 12. And also in proximity to the portage that connected the St. Joseph River and the Great Lakes riverine system with the upper reaches of the Kankakee River, which flows into the Illinois, which flows into the Mississippi drainage system. So that little short stretch of land near Niles is about 5 miles, and it essentially was this very, very important location. So the French established their settlement there first as a mission in the 1680s, and then as a commercial center and as a place where there was a small garrison of about 8 to 10 soldiers in 1691. And essentially there's very limited documentation from this period. So understanding daily life at Fort St. Joseph can only be accomplished through the archaeology. So what we're seeing here is evidence of the first interactions between the French and their native allies. And the work that we do sheds lights on this and helps us to understand what some of the challenges were that both sides, if you will, faced, and then the very distinctive fur trade society that emerged from the blending or the commingling of these two different cultures, who basically lived in peaceful relationships on the St. Joseph River for nearly a century until the British showed up. Well, I mean, some of the challenges that they faced in the 18th century, first off, was for the French, for example, this was completely unknown territory for them. They really weren't familiar with Southwest Michigan. The local resources are something that they had to rely upon because they either chose not to or weren't very successful in establishing domesticated plants and animals at this time. And for the native peoples, this was an area that they had been living in for hundreds of years, and now there was essentially a new population that had come into the area, which provided some opportunities because the French brought with them objects like iron tools and knives and axes and cloth, just a range of different goods that previously weren't available to them. But at the same time, Native peoples needed to negotiate the political terrain with the French, and so this was certainly a challenge for them. Well, one of the things that we've been able to learn through the work is that there are actually intact deposits. There are undisturbed archaeological deposits at the site that demonstrate to us that this was indeed the location where they established their settlement. And as we look carefully at these remains, we're beginning to find the outlines of houses. So we're learning about how they constructed their buildings, how large they were. The contents of the buildings begin to tell us something about the actual occupants of the buildings, because there are no maps, there are no detailed descriptions of what went on at Fort St. Joseph. So all this information derives predominantly from archaeology. The other thing, the documents that do exist provide us with sort of a broad narrative of political aspirations of commandants and maybe some population estimates, these sorts of things. But the archaeological record, the materials that were made and used and discarded on a daily basis, tell us more about the texture of daily life. So we actually get a sense of how people used material goods, not the way they necessarily were intended to be used, but the way they actually were used. So for example, one object that we found that's quite intriguing is what we would all recognize as a thimble. A thimble used for sewing, to protect one's fingers from being pricked by a needle. And yet this thimble that we found has a hole in it, intentionally punched in it. And we have ethnographic examples of Native peoples using thimbles and other cone-shaped, cuprous, copper-based objects that they would dangle from the fringes of their garments, from moccasins. They would have put them on various bags that they would have carried, and these little objects would bang up against each other and make a pleasing tinkling sound. So this is quite interesting to us, because when Native peoples envisioned, when they first saw these thimbles, they didn't necessarily see them in the same way as the European makers did. In fact, they imagined them as being very, very different types of objects, decorative objects. And so the way that people manipulated objects and the way that they modified them for towards their own ends are what we really can see from the archaeological record. So it gives us a very different insight into what life was actually like in the 18th century and what people were doing on a daily basis, as opposed to the documents that are more prescriptive, but in fact don't necessarily shed light on that aspect of the people. The French typically would have located their forts, a place like Fort St. Joseph, along a major waterway, like the St. Joseph River. And they situated it along waterways so they could take advantage of waterways to transport goods and people. In the late 19th century, a dam was constructed on the St. Joseph River, and then it was added to in the 20th century. The result of that was a flood pool behind the dam. And so the elevation of the river today is about 10 to 12 feet higher than it was in the 18th century. So the result of that is that the site is covered with water for much of the year. And so this inhibited archaeologists from being able to actually locate the site. They perhaps ruled out the location, which is as wet as it is, thinking perhaps that people would not have thought to live there, forgetting perhaps that the site, in fact, would have looked very different 200 years ago. So the fact that the site is covered with water has been a mixed blessing. Some of the materials in the site are remarkably well preserved. For example, one of the most common items we recover from the site are animal bones that were the remains of meals that were consumed in the 18th century. Typically in Michigan soils, because they are acidic, because of the freeze-thaw cycle, organic materials like bone does not preserve that well. This is a very unusual situation, and the result is that we've identified just dozens of different animal species, mostly deer, but a wide range of wild animals, beaver and porcupine and various aquatic birds, swans and geese and ducks and rabbits, and just an extensive list of animals, bear, that were being exploited, along with just a few domesticated animals, suggesting that domesticated animals were not that important. But this is, again, one of the clues that indicates this is clearly a French site, because this is not what the native peoples would not have had any domesticated animals at this time period. So there's that element of the water played a role in that way. The other way that water has played a role is that over the course of the 20th century, the constant flooding of the site has deposited about a foot of sediment over the old plow zone, over the old 18th century ground surface. And so it's been a little more difficult to actually excavate down to that level to find any objects. So for those reasons, perhaps, people generally left the site alone. They were unable to locate the site. They chose not to test that area. And despite efforts by the University of Michigan and Michigan State University and the University of Notre Dame over the course of the 20th century, Fort St. Joseph essentially remained forgotten until we came there to do the work in 1998. So when we dug those shovel test pits, we hit artifacts at about a foot beneath the surface, but we also hit the water table. And so that was one of the challenges for us. So each year when we conduct our excavations, we employ a dewatering system. We put about 1.5-inch PVC pipes about 15 feet into the ground and connect them all to a larger pipe. And those pipes are in turn connected to a series of now electric pumps that we use. The city has run electricity down to the site in the middle of the woods here. And we use those electric pumps to draw the water out of the site, to lower the groundwater table, and effectively create dry site conditions. It's really the only way we could do the work, because as archaeologists we need to be able to see the locations of individual objects to be able to map them in. And we did that. When we did that initial testing, we were essentially digging in muddy water, and we really couldn't tell if a gunflint was next to a straight pin and if glass beads were next to foundation stones, and because we couldn't see into the excavations. So the only responsible way to do the work is with that dewatering system. When we leave, we shut off the system, the groundwater table comes back up, and it effectively floods again, hopefully protecting the site until another season of excavation takes place. We typically work in the summer. It's in conjunction with our summer archaeological field school. WMU will hold in 2016, provided we have student interest, our 41st annual archaeological field school. This is one of the longest running archaeological programs in the country. I started running the field school in 1994, and we first brought it to Fort St. Joseph in 2002. So it's a 7.5 week session. We've run it in summer 1. We're moving it back this year to summer 2, when it tends to be drier, so that's more to our benefit in trying to do the work we do. And typically we have anywhere between 10 and 15 university students, most from WMU, but from other institutions in the state of Michigan and beyond. We had a student come to us from Georgia State University last year. We have a staff of returning students. These include graduates as well as advanced undergraduates who have experience at the site, and they assist with the public outreach we do, with the public education. Because even though the field school, the archaeological field school, is the main activity each summer, there are a series of other activities that we conduct as well. We have, for example, a summer lecture series that's free to the community. We'll bring in experts on a particular topic that relate to Fort St. Joseph to speak on successive Wednesdays in the month of July this year and into August. We also run a summer camp program. So we invite middle schoolers to join us for a week, and lifelong learners, as well as teachers who can earn continuing education credits as well. And that's been a very successful program. We've done that since 2002. We've trained nearly 300 middle schoolers and lifelong learners and teachers now in the techniques of archaeology. And then the culminating event of our field program is our open house. Each year near the end of the field school, we invite the public in to meet student archaeologists, to see the excavations, to see what we found, to learn about a different theme each year. We've focused on the women of New France. We focused on Jesuits. One year was the fur trade. Another year was the militia. Another year was foodways. We focused on architecture, and this year we're actually focusing on the river and the challenges that it faces, and rivers essentially flowing back through time, rivers in historical and anthropological perspective. And so that'll be the theme, and we'll also have living history reenactors who will portray some of the individuals who were at the fort in the 18th century, and then they can demonstrate some of the techniques that were involved in daily life. For example, there'll be canoes, replicas of canoes that would have been used at the fort, and the story of resources that would have been tapped from the river, like beaver and fish and so forth, and other resources that the local people would have relied on from the river will also be a focus of our interpretation this year, August 6th and 7th. As I mentioned, when we got involved with the project, it was the local people in Niles who asked us to participate in the project. And from the outset, they insisted on being involved and in staying involved. So the Fort St. Joseph Archaeological Project is indeed a collaborative partnership between the City of Niles and Western Michigan University. It's also run as a community service learning project, so students provide a service to the people of Niles, namely the recovery of their history. In the course of doing so, they also benefit from local community assets. For example, even before we did excavations, there were artifacts in the museum from the fort that had been collected over 100 years ago, and those number in the thousands of artifacts. Those have been the subject of student theses, for example. So collaboration takes many forms. One of the groups that we collaborate with is called Support the Fort. They're the people who initially invited us. They're local people who are interested in promoting the history of Fort St. Joseph. The City of Niles has been very, very generous in bringing electricity to the site, as I mentioned earlier, and in assisting us in a variety of ways. We work closely with the Niles District Library. They're our partners for our summer lecture series. They host the summer lectures. We've worked with the Society for Colonial Wars in Michigan, Rotary Club, Kiwanis, just a whole range of different service groups, as well as individuals who step up. So that's one type of collaboration, and the other type of collaboration is the more academic collaboration. This is obviously a multidisciplinary program. Many archaeological projects are. The archaeologist wears a lot of hats but doesn't have all the expertise. So one of the reasons that these early French colonial sites are understudied has to do with a language barrier. A lot of the documents are written in French. I'm fortunate that a colleague of mine in the history department in the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Joe Brandow, reads 17th and 18th century French documents. So he and I have collaborated and co-published on a number of topics. This is a perfect example of the way in which in historical archaeology, documentary sources and then the material record come together to provide new insights into the history of that period. We've also had collaboration with geosciences as well as other departments, but geosciences is another good example in trying to identify where fireplaces and other subsurface features, architectural features might be located. My colleague from geosciences, Bill Salk, assisted by providing us with a geophysical survey. So he employed a series of geophysical techniques like ground penetrating radar and magnetometry, and these are an effective way of sort of seeing below the surface to identify places where there could be cultural anomalies, cultural irregularities that might lead us to places that would be of interest in our excavations. So those are just two of the departments that we've collaborated with on campus, and of course the community partnership is a very, very important part of what we do, and a project of the scope now that the scope of the project is such that it requires a lot more work than just what my students and I can do, and we're thankful for all of the assistance that we get.
Major Monday, yay! At Western Michigan University.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm a senior at Western Michigan University, studying secondary education mathematics with minors in English and speech and hearing processes. And I'm from Lansing, Michigan. Why did I choose Western Michigan University, you may ask? Well, I came on a campus tour way back, March 2010, and I just fell in love with campus. I found out Western started off as a teacher's college back in 1903, so I knew going into the career of education, Western was the place for me. I decided to become a secondary ed math major because I've been good at math since I was in second grade. So why not major in something that I'm awesome at? Common sense, right? When I was a sophomore in high school, I had this math teacher that blew my mind. He was so great at his job, and I wanted to be just like him. So I knew right then and there I was going to become a high school math teacher. Let me tell you some fun facts about our College of Education and Human Development here at Western Michigan University. First, 100% of our students are involved in internships. And for me, that means I'm going out and seeing what it's like to be a full-time teacher. I actually do my student teaching next semester, and I got my first choice at Kalamazoo Central High School here in Kalamazoo. Let me tell you another cool thing that I've done here as a student at WMU. I've had the opportunity to travel, and not just travel around the U.S. I'm talking about across the world, to Europe. I got to study abroad in a program called The Life and Leisure of Ancient Rome. Who wouldn't want to be in Rome for 2 weeks, learning about the culture, the food, and the people? It was an awesome experience, and I wouldn't have had it if I was not a student here at Western. So, are you thinking about majoring in education? Well, I think Western is the right school for you, and here's why. Western not only offers so much support for their students as far as scholarships and academic resources, but there's just so many opportunities to take advantage of, whether it's doing an internship or even studying abroad. Now, think about all that. Where can you go wrong? Remember, it's always a great day to be a Bronco.
at Western Michigan University.
Hello, my name is Jenna Hicken. I'm a senior here studying psychology and German, and I'm originally from Rochester Hills, Michigan. I chose Western because when I first came to campus, I fell in love with it. I absolutely loved it. It was beautiful, and also it's really close to downtown Kalamazoo, which got me really excited. There's always something to do on campus and in the area, and there's just something for everybody. I chose German because I started taking it in high school. I wasn't really good at French or Spanish, so I chose German, and I had a really great teacher in high school, so I ended up just sticking with it. To me, it was really important to be fluent in a second language, and now I'm the major. I got the chance to study abroad in Berlin for 6 weeks, and now I'm also the president of German Club. It is one of the registered student organizations on campus. We have lots of German club events, so we have a German film series. Actually, yesterday we also made German food, traditional German food, and at the end of the month we're going to Chicago for the traditional German Christmas market. So we do lots of activities on campus to get students involved with German culture and German language. I've always been interested in studying psychology. I love studying the brain. I think it's fascinating, and to be able to kind of integrate that into the health system I think is really important. Also, I'm interested in the research aspect, helping people in general. Right now I'm actually doing a practicum for psychology where I work with kids with autism, so it's really makes me feel good about what I'm doing and seeing how much it benefits the kids. So yeah, it's a great major to be in, and there's definitely lots of ways to get involved and get some great experience while you're here. In the psychology department, there are a lot of practicums to choose from. Like I said, mine, I work with kids with autism, and it's really, for me, it's really beneficial, but there's tons to choose from in the Kalamazoo area or in Battle Creek, and there's anything from, you can work at the YWCA, you can work at Cindy Q's Health Center, the counseling department, so there's lots of things to choose from wherever your interest in psychology may be. Coming to Western was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made. I've had so many great experiences here and so many great opportunities to learn for graduate school or a job, and I love my time here. It's a great day to be a Bronco.
My name's Fritz Alhoff. I'm a philosophy professor in the College of Arts and Sciences. I've been at Western Michigan for 10 years. I was brought in as an applied ethicist and have taught applied ethics, ethical theory, and philosophy of law. I think ethics most fundamentally is about how we live our lives and how we confront the challenges that we face on our journeys. It's a great opportunity to teach and write about ethics, applied ethics in particular, because we get to embrace questions pertaining to things like war and new technologies and elections, and a wide range of topics that people really identify with and that resonate strongly with ordinary people. Everyone has opinions on ethics, and it's easy to get people involved in these sorts of questions. The central question that animates my research is how to understand the relationship between ethics and emerging technologies. So I'm very interested in how we think about military technologies like drone warfare or cyber attacks, medical technologies like cloning or genetic enhancement, or any other technological innovations that portend ethical questions. My disciplinary training is in philosophy, but after getting tenure, I decided to go back to law school. I wanted to think through not just how to understand ethical questions in the abstract philosophical modes, but also how to understand them through legal institutions and how we configure our society in order to address those sorts of problems. After law school, I clerked for a justice on the Alaska Supreme Court, got to spend a year in Alaska, and that was a great opportunity to not just apply law, but understand how practically to undertake some of these projects. So one of the great things about doing technology ethics is it's very interdisciplinary. We get to work not just with philosophers and ethicists, but also scientists. So a lot of the projects that I've had, be they grants, co-authored publications, have have involved participation of scientists, and they do a great job sort of informing us, the philosophers or the lawyers, what the state of the science is. And then with that information, it's easier for the ethicists or the lawyers to sit down and figure out, okay, where do we go from here? What do we do with the current state of the science? What are the ethical questions and how should we address those? One of the biggest challenges with technology ethics is the technology is developed faster than the ethics. We're frequently playing catch up with our technology ethics. The technologies come on board before there's been some broad debate or public forum about what we should actually do with those technologies. So the important role of the technology ethicist or the lawyer is to play catch up, but also to try to identify before they happen what the developments will be and start the conversation early. One of the biggest challenges in technology ethics is negotiating the boundaries between security and individual liberties. And you see this context come up over and over. So you see it, for example, with regards to drones, where we end up killing people, which is obviously a deprivation of their rights, but we do it under the aegis of security. You see the same issue come up when the courts rule that Apple has to create a backdoor in order to access the iPhone of the San Bernardino killers. So the issues here have to do with how we negotiate the tension between concerns pertaining to national security and individual liberties. I'm very interested in questions at the intersection of neuroscience and criminal law. So 2 examples. One is if you are able to predict that people are going to commit crimes before they do, what should we do with them? Should we arrest them? Should we put them on probation? Another question has to do with whether after someone commits a crime, we can attribute the crime to some sort of neurodeficit or pathology. Do we hold these people as responsible? If say there's a tumor that caused them to commit the crime, are we going to give them a lesser sentence or no sentence at all? One of the projects I'm currently working on has to do with ethics of cyber warfare. And this is a really compelling question because no one is immune from cyber attacks. Cyber attacks are by their very nature indiscriminate. They don't tell apart the military from civilians. And in virtue of that feature, they violate the laws of armed conflict. So how we think through the ethics of cyber warfare is very important. And in this project, I get to collaborate with the military and other important stakeholders.
I'm Paul Solomon. I'm part of the College of Fine Arts at WMU. When I arrived here, I was asked to be part of the Frostic School of Art, which makes sense in that I have a deep, long-standing involvement with visual art, especially photography. However, I think of myself just as much as someone who's anchored in a number of different areas that overlap. I'm primarily interested in ideas and concepts, and there are times where I flesh those out through writing, sometimes through different forms of visual art, and even in other ways. An artist, by definition, I'd say, is someone who lives in the present moment, argues with the past, and imagines the future. And that's why we value, and that's why we need the artist, because the artist, the good artist, is immersed in the present moment, knows what's come before, and is argued with those artists and those thinkers of the past, but also has his or her ear to the ground and senses before most other people what is coming down the rails. So that, for example, if you look in the 1960s, we had Federico Fellini in film and Andy Warhol in everything, who already had a clear sense that our society was coming to be dominated by a cult of celebrity and this massive capitalist-driven consumer, voracious appetite for consumer objects, and they put it out there right in front of us in films like La Dolce Vita and in all of Andy Warhol's production of film, paintings, and prints in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. I came to Western to direct an unusual program It was unusual then, and it's still unusual, called Direct Encounter with the Arts. And as I've come to structure it, I think of it as a course that's about culture, but culture understood by entering through various portals in the arts. So by involving students with guest artists that I bring here, in taking them to dance concert, theatrical productions, to see exhibitions, look at architecture in the streets here. In this way, students come to, or my goal is for them to learn how to have an opinion about things, how to articulate that opinion, how to be inspired in that process by artists and others. Students in these courses need to know more about the past, the cultures of the past, ones we come from, ones we're influenced by, and know more about our culture, which in turn now has influenced so much of the world. Well, I still love working with all kinds of media. When I'm really free, whenever that happens, traveling, for example, then I'm most inclined to draw or sketch in a journal. But photography holds a special place for me because it allowed me, especially beginning working with photographic technology as a kid, to be equally involved in science and aesthetics. So photography certainly in those days involved using optics and chemistry, as well as being able to exercise one's eye as an artist. So in that way, photography was, and in certain ways still remains, a synthesis of what we think of as science and art.